Okay, well, I thought I'd do this quick video for a couple of reasons. One, it's a rainy day and there's not much else to fucking do because it's raining. And my back's still a bit sore. But I recently did a post, which, you know, I'll link to in the description if I remember, on how my back tyre here had a series of very small punctures from the gravel that was recently put down on my road. And, you know, the gravel's, you know, bad for that because I mentioned why. Probably see if I can splice in a bit of that same video into this. Let's see how that goes. On my wheel, well, marks, meaning leaks from my tyre, sealed more or less by some slime. Some big enough that they can't really be sealed very effectively. Let's see if I can zoom. Sometime after you'd expect that the slime should have, you know, figured itself out, it was still, you know, going with tiny little bubbles and coming out. And so, yes, it was holding pressure, but it wasn't holding pressure correctly. So over the course of 4 or 5 days, it had, you know, dropped down from 30 psi down to 25 psi. And I could feel the difference, and I know that that means that the tyre runs flatter instead of more curved because of pressure, you know. Anyway, I decided that what I would do is I would undo the valve down there, and as per on my other videos, put in some fresh stuff. Now, I knew that what's been coming out of it, based on the green looking shit coming out of the holes, was liquid, not solid bits. So that meant that the stuff that's in that bottle was still actually kind of in there, because that one in my previous video where I described, you know, the consistency of the slime and the SCA rubbish product, the SCA one was just basically liquid. Like it says liquid puncture sealant, but, you know, it's more liquid than puncture sealant. But anyway, so I figured, well...
But what I can tell you straight away is that the SCA came out fucking super runny, and the slime emergency came out quite thick and goopy. You know, that's super goopy.
Tube. So I figured that, you know, that one stuff's still there, so why don't I just top it up with that rubbish there and see how it goes. So I did that about a week and a half ago, and I noticed that at first it started, you know, leaking liquid again, but over the course of the period I've noticed that it's staying up pressure pretty well. Now today I've just come back from riding in the rain. Oh my god, I rode in the rain! And the tyre was soaking wet, so I laid the scoot over on the grass and had a really good inspection of the back tyre there to look for any little bubbles popping up. And you know what? There aren't any. So that means that over time, that extra liquid in the liquid patch has helped to break up and move around the slime, which in previous cases I've found when I pulled my tyres off and replaced that last tyre because it had a really bad puncture. That seems to have allowed it to distribute and recake and stuff like that, and now it actually seems to be holding well. So, tip is, if you get, if you've got tubeless tyres, and mine are tubeless tyres, oh shut up guys, then get a bit of both, right? So try something a little bit liquidy and try something a little bit solidy and make your own blend, right? So I found that the slime works really well and does seal, but in some circumstances, if there's enough little tiny holes, there's enough, just a little bit of air escaping. It doesn't take much, it's just a merest little of bubble visible coming out of a pinhole. But because the tyres are so small, right, they don't have much volume in them compared to a car tyre, that amounts to a slow leak, which is enough to drop 5 or 6 psi and cause you, you know, wear problems over the time, and maybe even, you know, yeah, drop it down to 5 and 6 psi over time. But you'll notice when it gets down that low. I know from riding around before with low psi, it did actually make the tyres wear a lot faster, and keeping that PSI up higher has definitely helped with tyre wear. My last 1,000 kilometres has had far less wear on that back tyre than the first 1,000 kilometres had on the previous tyre. So yeah, there you go. You can actually, top up your sealant. I haven't needed to pop that off. And if you look at the consistency in that other video, there isn't going to be much residual stuff left over. I might do a quick experiment now that I think about it, and put an amount onto a piece of paper and let it sit there for enough days for it to actually fully dry out. And actually, let's just examine how much is in there from each of them. That'd be an interesting experiment. So anyway, in the meantime, if you put slime in your tyre and you've got a tubeless tyre, I don't think it's going to work with tubes. It's still coming out a little tiny bit. You're seeing a bit of ooze out of the back of your tyre when you come up to it, or you move it around and you go, oh, what was that little wet patch underneath the tyre there? Try putting in some liquid. I put in about 60 cc's. That's the benefit of that syringe system, is you can actually measure how much you're putting in there rather than trying to guess. Give it another bash around, take it for a ride, give it time to sort of take over, a road that's got, some bumps in it, right? Because you don't want just smooth spinning, you want a few bumpities to bash things around and cause whatever's in there to flick off and get, mashed around by the extra liquid that that is in the SCA one. Okay, well, hopefully that's worked for you, and sorry about the length of this. I didn't quite make my point as succinctly as I might have been able to do. But look, otherwise, this MX-60's been a really good scoot. I'm in the situation where I don't actually have to, take it inside, and I just leave it parked underneath the house here, and, there she stays. So that basically is good for me. If I had to carry it into the house all the time, it'd ship me to death because it's 35 kilos. So as it is, I just pop the battery hatch and then, carry the battery inside. The battery is only 7 or so kilos, 7.5, something like that. So that makes my life easier on my back, and the scoot can stay out here and I'll come and use it when I need to. I don't really take the battery out of it any other time apart from charging it. Okay, have a good time.